Hello everyone, this is CJNovo992 and today we're back for another brand new video, and it's that time again. You see this grey face and we go ahead and talk about another new signing, and I'm very interested to see your opinions down there in the comment section below, because I imagine the emotions will range from very excited because this is a Wonderkid, this is a star boy, but it could also range right to worried / stressed that this is going to take minutes away and game time away and development away from our very own star boy / Wonderkid. There's a hell of a lot to unpack with this one, ladies and gentlemen, but before we go ahead and get into it, as always, it's time to chuck the old arms out and welcome the latest signing, which is of course Mikey. And as we do go on this very interesting journey together, if you don't mind hitting that like button, that'd be greatly appreciated. Or if you are a new viewer here that's watching today's video, maybe you're a Spurs fan, maybe you want to keep an eye on Mikey. We're trying to reach 70k, so any help would be greatly appreciated. But I know that's on me to go ahead and earn that subscription, so let's go ahead and try and do that then, shall we? And starting off, as we always do, with the old player profile. Mikey Moore is a 17-year-old left winger, and right away you've probably got a couple things running through your mind: why we're loaning in a 17-year-old and why we're bringing in another left winger when we're pretty stacked right now there in terms of who's playing and who's playing well. All questions we'll try to cover through today's video, but he is primarily a left winger, but despite being just 17 years old and having very little top flight experience, he's also shown he is capable of playing in multiple other positions as he can, and has played a couple games over on the right, and he's even played in the more central area playing as the 10, which is very interesting to me, and it might actually open a wee cheeky door to him to get even more game time if that's the position he's going to play. You know, under certain Russell Martin systems, we've talked about it many times, it needs that elusive player, it needs that boy to be able to take a ball in a half turn, it needs that type of skillful player in the middle. But again, primarily is a left winger, and imagine if Spurs have anything to say with how he gets used, or to try and develop in the conversation, at least being in to that position, as that could be his pathway to the Spurs first team, and you can see why, because he's built for it. And I think, especially with what we've talked about so far this season, and some of the players that we've brought in and some of the profiles we've looked at, maybe when you hear a winger, or maybe specifically a left winger, you might think rapid, blah blah. That's not really Mikey Moore's game, if I'm being brutally honest with you, and I didn't mean that as a dig, because when I watched the kid and I've really looked into him, I already knew a wee bit about him because I obviously watched Spurs play in the Europa League, so I actually seen the majority of his game time, if I'm honest. But now for this video, I really went ahead and looked at everything I can, from every minute he played in the Premier League to everything in the Cup. I've wanted to see about him, and what really stands out to me is, I wouldn't say he's fast at all, yet somehow, some way, he just seems to glide across the ground, dribble past people, use his skill, his wee quick touch, his good wee ability to shift it from left to right, and it just makes defenders look silly, and it looks like he's doing it in slow motion. But again, that's a major compliment, as he can just work his way out. He could probably find space in a phone box with Gemma Collins. He's just got a wee bit of ability, the football, that really makes him stand out, because he makes it look so easy, and that's what the very best or most talented players seemingly do. And for me, his dribbling ability and his willingness to take on the dribble is the things that really stand out to me, as does the way that he plays. He is a left winger, he isn't left footed, he's primarily a right footer, but he is comfortable on the left. But his main game is always sitting on the half turn, waiting for the ball, because he wants to take a touch, he wants to cut inside, and he wants to drive, which suits with a lot of what we're seeing from our left wingers already so far in the season. We've seen it with Gazim, we've seen it with Curtis. That is what Russell Martin wants our players today, and when you look at this kid for at least 10 to 15 seconds, you'll see the exactly, like, oh aye, I can see how he fits in a team. But again, where he's no got the pace of the others, just his skill with the ball and his ability just to make defenders look silly, so silly in fact that they get annoyed and just yank him down, they fool him down, and they win some dangerous set pieces. You can really see how he could be an asset into a Rangers team and where he could fit. But again, at the same time, he's still an incredibly young footballer. He's still finding his way in the game, he's still developing, he's still going to take major leaps, or I imagine the Spurs fans are hoping he's going to take even more major leaps. So it is very hard to try and pin a 17-year-old down and say he's this type of player, or he's this type of player, or is this what he's going to be. What you've seen of him is all promising. His word of mouth from every manager he's worked with to every player. I mean, the likes of James Maddison called him Neymar last season because because in the Europa League. Now again, I'm not backing up that statement and saying we've went ahead and signed a Neymar, but that just shows you what he stands out to, despite being a young player, to his peers and big leaders and guys that is a part of the leadership group, what they think the young laddie. So it is very, very impressive, and to see such unanimous praise is very refreshing to look at a signing, because you can't look anywhere to find anything negative say about him. From managers to players to fans, they talk this kid up to the hilt. And I like that. And something that really blew my mind in looking, because when I think of Son, I think of a phenomenal footballer, right? And again, no matter what I say here, I'm not saying Mikey Moore's better than him or anything. That's ridiculous to even say it like, right? But Son was going through a tough period during last season, and there were shouts and people begging for the likes of Moore to go on and play ahead. He's on, and that fries my brain, but that shows you the appreciation of what they've seen in glimpses of this kid, that there's something there they want to see Mary. And now he's coming up here and making the decision where he could just be sitting in the background, maybe getting more substitute minutes here, substitute minutes here. He could be sitting there and just loving and just being relied on, but he's pushing for this move. He wants to test himself, he wants to develop himself further and get that pressure of needing to play every week and that pressure of needing to win every week. That's what he wants to drive his career on. And again, you're getting a talented player that gets all the praise in the world, absolutely, but he's not just happy being there earning big money. He's actually pushing his career on and forcing it through so he can get the game time he feels like he needs to really kick on. So you're getting young talent, but you're getting motivation, which is sometimes the thing that Disney happen with a lot of these young, highly touted wonder kids and everything like that. This kid's pushing for this, and I like the fact that he's dying to be here. But again, I know it's a loan, so it's going to put a lot of people off, and you probably already vented your frustration down there in the comment section below, and we will try to look at the good and the bad of this potential loan later on in terms of the competition for places. But again, this is the player profile, ladies and gentlemen. I'm seeing unanimous praise, I'm seeing backing, I'm seeing support of a young kid who can dribble for days, that can make defenders look very, very silly, and has a ridiculous amount of confidence and plays with his chest to it, despite being the age he is, and sometimes playing in ahead of the likes of Son in terms of the Europa League and rotating. That's the pressure he's got to try and back up. That's the level he's got to reach, but it never seemed to faze him, and he just took everything in his stride. So for the player profile, it's actually really impressive. My only real worry for this kid is that dribbling ability and that gliding with the ball and that making defenders looking silly we're talking about as a praise could also be a very quick negative up here if referees aren't doing their jobs right and allowing hammer throwers to throw some hammers, as clearly stuff's going to get nailed to this kid for every single time he touches the ball. And that's when we need referees to do their frickin' jobs and issue cards when they need to be issued. But again, that's another level of danger he brings. He will win us a lot of set pieces, and if we improve in that area, again, the amount of goals and chances this kid could help us create both on and when it gets kicked off the ball could be a real game changer for us and pick us up some good points. But I think with that being said, that's enough of a picture painted to what he could potentially be in a Rangers shirt and what he's been so far in his young Spurs career. Now it's time to take a wee trip and a wee journey to the old footballing CV, then shall we, and try and crunch the numbers of a 17-year-old, despite how silly that actually sounds. But he's not as completely inexperienced as you might think when you hear a 17-year-old, as he has got a little bit of experience, or about as much experience as you could possibly get at that age at the club that he currently plays for, or plies his trade for, I should say. As last season he really got his experience, because the year prior, ladies and gentlemen, when he was 15 done in 16, he eventually got substituted on and made 2 appearances for Spurs, becoming the youngest player to ever play in the Premier League for Spurs during that period. But his main game time and his main development came last season under Ange Postecoglou, who we are obviously very familiar with right here on the channel. But it was Ange that gave him the best chances to succeed and really gave him the pathway to the first team to help his development, and that development came in terms of 10 appearances in the Premier League at 17. There's guys that's been wanting to play in the Premier League their entire careers at this football club, despite being the age, the reach that's never got to anywhere near 10 games, to have 10 under his belt in one season at 17, again, is impressive. However, he did start just 3 of those matches, as you could probably imagine being the age. But he did play 4 games in the cup competitions as well, but then a perfect 2 in the FA Cup and the EFL Cup, or whatever it's called. These days, in my brain, the way I grew up, it was always called the Carling Cup and all that stuff, so I don't know what it's called anymore, but you know what I'm talking about, the other cup competition, if you will. But his main minutes and his main appearances, and the most he was relied on, was clearly in the Europa League in terms of European experience, as he went ahead and played 5 games for Spurs during their run to the final, which they obviously won a European trophy. Now, weirdly, it wasn't enough to keep Ange Postecoglou on a job as they sacked him, but you know, English football is quite crazy. I'm not getting anywhere near that. I know the players were very upset about that. I think Mikey was one of them, as well as they expected to be given more opportunities if Ange stayed at the football club. But that's all gone now, ladies and gentlemen. But in terms of the Europa League, the guy played 5 times during that stage, whilst also picking up an injury that sort of robbed him a couple games as well. And during the 5 games that he played in Europe, he was called Neymar, he was getting a lot of praise, he did start getting a lot of hype, etc, etc. But that resulted in 1 goal and 1 assist and 3 starts in terms of the Europa League. And if I'm honest with you, that's pretty much it in terms of his experience and in terms of what we can break down. Now again, he's got absolutely ridiculous reserve/under-21 league numbers. If you look at his goals and assists, it's absolutely ridiculous. But I think most people that's watched today's video knows how I like to operate these videos and what I like to look at. And I didn't really like to dive in and break down the youth football, reserve league football, etc, etc. As he's playing against players that will never make it to that level. So I think it can sometimes give you a false positive, or again, it could just paint it all wrong. So for me, I try and leave that stuff to the side and only break down the top flight professional matches. But if you are curious, because he is obviously such a young player, has he been playing at that level and has he been building his way up, or is he just a guy that's played 23 times? No, he's played a lot of games. He's been playing under 21s football since he was 15. Ladies and gentlemen, become one of the youngest players ever to play under 21s, because he's been ready, because his talent's always been ahead of what age he actually is. So there is ridiculous goals and stats and assist numbers all there. But for me, I just like to pay attention to the top flight stuff and see if you can translate it to that level, which of course he'll be playing week in and week out up the road at Rangers. So when we peel away everything else and just look at top flight professional football, he has played a total of 23 games. Ladies and gentlemen, that is it. But again, 12 of them is in the Premier League, with obviously the rest being other cup competitions and obviously Europe, but we've already spoken about so far. But in those 23 games, it is worth mentioning that he does bang in 6 goal contributions, which again isn't eye-watering, oh my god, and everything like that. But you've got to really put into context that these 23 games we're talking about, the large majority of them, barring 5 or 6, is substitute appearances. There were 6 minutes here, 13 minutes here. Oh, there were 27 minutes here, big man, go and score 5 goals. So he has been sort of drip-fed the game time. He started to build his way up. He's been building his way up closer and closer, getting more minutes to where he is right now. He's got a taste for the minutes. He wants the opportunity to develop, and the kid's young and hungry and wanting to play football. And that leads us to the end of the footballing CV, because again, there's no much else to break down. So we move away from the numbers and stats and get to the competition for places, which has almost been an afterthought for a lot of what we've done this season, looking at the defenders and that, because yeah, we need defenders, so it's been pretty short and snappy. But for me, it is very interesting, because let's say he is signed, because he is a left winger, right? That's primarily where he's been played. If he is getting brought in here as a left winger, we've already got Gazama there, and we've also got, obviously, Theo Asgard that can also play there, by the way, and was playing there before he got injured. But more importantly, we've got the likes of young Finlay Curtis, who has been playing very well. And it is quite crazy to think that Mikey's somehow younger than Finlay Curtis, because Finlay Curtis looks like he wouldn't be able to go and see a 15 at the cinema, yet that's what we're bringing in. And it is interesting, because you think right away Mikey Moore's reputation, his development, what you normally get in loads in terms of, oh, I would like him to play this amount of games or this amount of games, you'd expect him to jump up that and maybe take minutes away for Gazama and away for Curtis, and that might frustrate a lot of people. But it could also help both of them, in my opinion, because all of them are young. I know Gazama is 21, and oh my god, that's old now when you look at the rest of them. But every young player has peaks and valleys for a season. Everyone goes off the boil, everyone goes on it, and it just goes up and down and up and down. And when they keep playing week in and week out, their confidence can be shard. So maybe we're strengthening the area that was used to be so damn weak, not just a couple months ago, and just giving different options there, different styles of players, but players that can still play the Russell Martin system. So if one goes off the ball, the Ian's there, and if that goes off, there's an Ian there, and it keeps the appetite for playing as well, so nobody also gets comfortable. Because if you get called a Wonderkid, oh, the world's yours, blah blah blah, what starts to happen? You stop getting hungry, you start thinking you deserve this and you've already earned it. Well, there you're adding more competition and keeping people very, very hungry. So it will keep everybody on their toes. Imagine that dressing room, imagine that in the position, training week in and week out, being at level, wanting to start. But also it can help when people do and inevitably go off the boil. There's going to be the next man up, and that will keep this team hopefully more balanced through the team. But speaking of balance, it could also be a wee bit the old Annie Skywalker, ladies and gentlemen, as he also can cover the 10 position and also cover the right hand side as well. So there's no specific place telling us this is exactly where he's going to play. But again, it's Russell Martin, you just never know. I just think the way he's built to always want to cut inside and drive, cut inside his drive, I think it will be either at the 10 or on the left. But again, it could be a good thing, it could be a bad thing. I'm sure you'll let me know down there in the comment section below, because I imagine it'll be, oh, there we go, developing another club's player and everything at the risk of or I'm hurting ours. And I get it if you are feeling that way, but it's just a ridiculous talent we are bringing in that could really, really keep that side of the park that has been poor for years at this club at its toes, and just give everyone, let's get another 10%, let's get another 10%, here he's coming, he's wanting my spot now, and it just keeps everybody fighting tooth and nail, which might be the competition for places we need if we want a successful Rangers team. So, alright, it's going to be interesting. I'm very interested to see how you're going to be seeing this one. Are you half full, half empty? Are you happy? Are you mad? Are you sad? Or are you glad? I'm very encouraged, because everything I've read about this kid and seen this kid, he's very, very talented. Will that translate to Rangers? I certainly hope so. Will that translate to playing against Hammerfrost week in and week out? I certainly hope so. But there's a lot of question marks regarding this one. But in terms of going out and getting someone with talent and a pedigree and something to be said about him and a fantastic word of mouth, you're looking at him, ladies and gentlemen, be like, yeah, it should be a no-brainer. Will it? I guess we'll find out. But until next time, ladies and gentlemen, I've of course been Siege992. Thank you so much for watching. Shout out to the legends that have signed up to the channel legend membership. We greatly appreciate it, as we do the ones that have signed up to the supporter range. Thank you so much. And again, thank you to each and every single person who tunes into these videos week in and week out, upload after upload, and watches me stumble over my lines and mispronounce pretty much everything that I possibly could. Thank you so much for watching. Again, hopefully I've earned that subscription, hopefully I've earned that like. But until next time, take care of yourselves. I'll probably see you very, very soon. You just never know anymore. But until then, all the best and goodbye.